My name is Lejaun Sheppard. I'm an actor and I'm in 42 Balloons and I play Ron. That was a very broken up way of saying that.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, I play Ron in 42 Balloons, who is the kind of best friend and like uh, enabler to Larry in the show. Uh, and yeah, he's just kind of gets swept up in Larry's dream, and then yeah, ends up kind of filming and documenting the whole flight, which is kind of Larry like just yeah wanted to make sure that people knew it happened and that he like had achieved this kind of insane dream that he always had. Um, but apart from being an actor in 42 Balloons, I also write. I'm in the middle of writing a play at the minute, and I write poetry as well on the side. Um, yeah, that's kind of me.
Yeah.
Just all round creative, I guess.
Amazing. And then I always start my interviews by kind of going back to your beginnings. When did you know you wanted to be in the arts and performing?
When did I know? When did I know? I think it's gonna sound so cliche. I think like deep down, I always kind of knew, but I didn't know for a very long time that it was something that uh, was attainable.
Yeah.
Um, like I thought it was I didn't think it was a career, if that makes any sense. I was like, oh, that would be fun. Like I think I would always like growing up, even when I think I remember being like quite young and watching people on TV and mimicking them and being like very arrogantly being like, I can do it better than that.
Yeah.
Obviously not knowing how difficult it actually is. But yeah, I think I was always drawn to performing and uh, basically just making noise. Really, is what I
Yeah.
actually tend to do, is just make a bit of noise. Um, but yeah, I think it wasn't until I was probably about 17 or so. Um, and then people were getting ready to make decisions about university and stuff. And I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go or what I wanted to study. And um, a friend of mine was like, what about drama school? And I was like, oh, what's drama school? And then we went on a massive rabbit hole of
Yeah.
explaining what drama schools are. And um, yeah, thankfully I got in. I got into Guildford School of Acting, and then yeah, kind of set me up for my career until now.
And were there any people or performances that kind of had a big impact that kind of inspired you to where you are now?
Let me think. I think I was inspired. There's a play called Misty by I think his name's Arize Kene. Um, it's like a basically one man show, um, and with like it's him, a person on the keys, and a person on drums. I think the only and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible, so good. I watched it twice. Um, in both venues. I watched it first. I was at the Bush first, and I think it came to Trafalgar Studios afterwards. And I think yeah, that show I was like, people are allowed to do that on stage. People are allowed to make that kind of show. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that is definitely a show that has stuck to me. Now that was years ago now that came out.
Yeah.
I think before COVID. I think and yeah, I'm still like gushing about that. That and people, places, and things with Denise Go. I think, yeah, again, just incredible. I remember me and a friend of mine, we watched People, Places, and Things, and then there was like a Q&A afterwards. And I think I was just so full of theatre and like so inspired. I think we skipped all the way across Waterloo Bridge to Waterloo, like just full of beans, full of energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, as you say, 42 Balloons is where you are now. What kind of drew you to
Yes.
this project in particular?
I So I went on YouTube and I got the audition through, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know this, but I think I know a few people who have been a part of the vaudeville production. So
Yeah,
went on YouTube, I listened to a couple of bits, and I said, okay, so the music slaps. That's good to know.
yeah,
And then I asked a few of my friends who had been in the previous production, well, what was it like? What's the vibe like? Are the team nice? All of that kind of usual stuff that we actors ask about. And his name was Lem, or name is Lem.
yeah.
Spent probably about 20 minutes just gushing to me about how much he loved the show, he loved being a part of it, he loved the music, he loved the team. I said, oh, okay, I'm definitely going to go in then. And then I was just very lucky, for them to offer me the job. But yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer after listening to the clips that were online and talking to my friend who had done it before.
And do you guess kind of has that changed casting for you when you can go and listen like social media and songs are so out there these days for like new shows?
Yeah, I think it's helpful. Like
Yeah,
it's hard to. It's sometimes hard to gamble on a show if you're unfamiliar with the material
yeah,
and the material isn't readily available,
yeah,
because it just might not be. It just might the style of the show just might not suit like my facilities. So it's like, oh, like it's in my best interest to listen and like see how I can tackle the material, because that will save the casting team time compared, like, because if they bring me in and it's just so foreign to me, then it's like they've just wasted an afternoon trying to audition me. So do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it works both ways. It's helpful for actors, but it's definitely helpful for the casting team to because obviously they're also rolling a gamble on you. They're like, oh, okay, we think you might be good for X job,
yeah.
but us as actors know our skill sets way more than they will. So yeah, I think it is helpful to get the initial kind of taste for the
Yeah.
show, and then you can make some more informed decisions.
And then obviously 42 Balloons is about a true event that kind of happened with Larry Walters that people may not know. I think is it more the Disney film because of Up that kind of people may kind of I think that's
Right.
what it's
Yeah.
inspired it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, someone said the other day, like they were like, oh yeah, Up is like
Yeah.
loosely based off Larry's. I was like, oh, that's news to me. I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea.
Then obviously being on that based on that true story, do you then deep dive into the kind of real events and the history of it all yourself when you're preparing for the role?
Yeah, it all depends on the show. I think this show in particular, because some of the people, what am I trying to say? I think it is important to do your research. I think it's also helpful to a certain extent to really dive into the true facts. If you've got the true facts there, it
Yeah.
then makes the kind of the storytelling easier in some ways. Can you be like, okay, why did they make this decision? And you can kind of look up why they made that decision, which then makes your thought processes on stage easier. Obviously, sometimes things need to be adapted and just slightly changed, simply because we are now taking a real life event and putting it on stage, and
Yeah.
real life doesn't always correlate in the best way on stage, or like in the most entertaining way, or in the most just it's not always the most conducive way of like translating a story, right? Or a true story. So yeah, sometimes things will get, twisted and adapted, I should say, is a better word for the stage. But yeah, definitely like, and this team have been so good. They've supplied so much information about the true events that it's always a brilliant thing to do, I think, if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. And what's your creative process like when you are at this stage where you're on rehearsals and preparing for it all? What's that process like for you?
What is it like for me? I think it's very relaxed. I'm not someone who works well with pressure, and that's not to say I can't work under pressure,
Yeah.
but I actively ignore the pressure, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like that is like on the most part, I should say, it's not useful to me to be like, right, we need to do this, and I need to learn my lines by this. That is not a creative mindset. I think I like to be incredibly calm, and I always approach the work with a sense of play and a sense of like fun and adventure. So okay, what play can I get out of this scene today? And I've discovered this thing and I've discovered that thing. I think my process is very relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very relaxed kind of the way I tackle the pieces is it comes from I need to be relaxed to then do the best work, basically, is the long and the short of it. And then just repetition with intent. So that every time we do a run or we rerun a scene, it's like, okay, what am I trying to get out of it this time round, and changing that. And then because then by doing that you discover new things. I didn't realize that my character felt this way, or this version actually didn't work and it didn't click. So let's steer away from that and go more into that direction. And so I think that is kind of I think that's the way I work.
And how have you kind of found your version of Ron with that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. My version of Ron. I think it's been this can sound so obvious. The bulk of it is in the text. The text tells me who the character is, and then the other parts of it is what I bring to it in because of my just my essence and in my truth. But I think we had very interesting conversations in and around Ron, because being like, what am I trying to say? We had very interesting conversations around Ron, because there was the text reads very neutrally in terms of like racial identity, in terms of like sexuality. There's no big there's no big flags stating what Ron is in that sense. Obviously I'm coming to, the role is now mine, so it's like, okay, I need to make this my own. So then they had a conversation about Ron being very nerdy, because him and Lowry are both nerds in their own way, and differently nerdy, but they geek out and are very passionate about different things. With Lowry, it's flying and this specific dream of flying with these weather balloons. And with Ron, it's film and photography and like camera work. So finding out how I come to that as like a black man, because it's interesting being like, there's like a difference between being like, it's the show set in the 80s, and there's like a stereotypical ideal of like a white nerd,
Yeah.
but then there's also like the black nerd, and it's like those two have lots of similarities, lots of crossovers, but they're also different. Do you know what I mean? They're also
Yeah.
different and individual. So it's like, how do we? And at the end of the day, it's not like the crux of the show. So it's not.
No, yeah.
It's not. It is. It's more for me
Of course.
than anyone else. But it's yeah. We had lots of interesting conversations. Like, okay, like what? Okay, so what does make like a black nerd? Like what does that look like, and and how does that look different to Ron and to Larry? And yeah, there were some very funny differences, but also some amazing similarities. That was just it was a very creative but very fulfilling couple of sessions.
Yeah. And obviously, it's about traveling in the kind of chair with the balloons. But if you were to travel anywhere in a chair with balloons, where would be the dream destination for you?
Oh, where would it be? Listen, I've been meaning to go skiing now I've said probably every year for the last probably almost 10 years, I want to go skiing.
Yeah.
I've been twice in my life. I bloody love it. And I'm well overdue a ski trip. So I'll say, take me to some kind of lovely mountainside. Although it's not really the season for it now, is it?
No, probably not.
Well, when it is
when it is right,
season, take me to a nice snowy mountaintop with a pint and some chips waiting for me like halfway down the mountain, and then that's my answer to that.
Perfect. And this is a more difficult one, maybe. But if you were stranded on a desert island, you could have 3 musical theatre soundtracks. What are you taking with you?
Yeah. 3 whole soundtracks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got to say 42 Balloons because
of course,
it slaps. It absolutely slaps.
Yeah.
I'll say 42 Balloons. I'll say Hades Town because that also slaps.
Yeah.
And I would say, Jesus Christ Superstar, but specifically the 1970s film soundtrack.
Yeah,
that's my answer.
Great choices. And obviously you're an actor, writer as well, poet. But what kind of keeps you creatively inspired?
What keeps me creatively inspired? I think, it's going to sound again so cliche, but there's kind of so much that inspires me. Like books. I love reading fantasy books. And there's always something in there that pings out to me, but then pings out to me in a way that is like, oh, this little specific thing from this book could then spring onto an idea for like a musical that rings around in my head, or for a short film that then pings around in my head for a little while. I think the obvious, going to see shows. And like all caliber of shows, whether it's on the West End, off the West End, whether it's black box above a pub, like whatever, like just seeing everything you can, and dances as well. Going to see like different like dances and stuff. Just music festivals and like seeing different musicians, because they're very especially nowadays, there's often a lot of like kind of beautiful, like kind of set design when it comes to gigs and stuff. So like I get inspired by that and artwork, going to museums and galleries, and yeah, that's kind of a bit of a rubbish answer, because I think inspiration is more of a mindset,
Yeah.
than something than like a trigger, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You have to, if you've got I sound so if you've got like an inspired mindset,
Yeah.
I think you will find inspiration everywhere. If that makes sense.
It does make
Sorry,
sense.
I sound so wanky. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. But then if people wanted to follow your journey and your kind of like writing as well, where can people do that?
Oh yeah. So follow me on Instagram. What's my Instagram called? LEJ_SHE is not my Instagram, that's my Twitter.
Yeah. Trust it.
That's my Twitter. So yeah, LEJ_SHE is my Twitter account. I'm often retweeting either the work that I'm currently doing or cool work that is happening, that I'm inspired by, going back to inspiration. And yeah, I would say follow me on Instagram, but my Instagram is it's just funny. Like I just put kind of old man memes up that make me laugh. So you can follow me there if you want, and that is at that guy Lej. So that guy LEJ again. Yeah, my Instagram is a bit silly, but hey, that's what social media is for, right?
That's what we need. Keeps it fun.
Exactly.
My final question for you to wrap all this up: what do you want an audience member to take away from seeing 42 Balloons?
We had a very interesting conversation today, in our check-in, and I hope she doesn't mind me nicking it. But I hope everyone takes away a sense that you're allowed to dream. You're allowed to dream as big as you want. And the phrase that I'm going to steal is, we can all do with increasing our courage, through like all walks of life and through all kind of professions. Just increase your courage and go after what you want, I think is the message that I hope people take from the show. Yeah.
Marvellous. Lejaun, thank you so much for your time.
Mate, thank you, Mark.
Leads me to say 42 Balloons is on the Lowry in Salford from the 18th of April to the 19th of May.